Thank you very much for having me here, Bill. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming to celebrate yet another bestseller by William Browder. When I was reading the Red Notice, I couldn't put it down. And this book is just going to be just as exciting. It's going to read as a thriller. But the most amazing thing about this book is that every word in it is true. And it's sometimes hard to think about it because, well, you read it as a thriller. Those things should not be happening in real life. We should be somehow protected from those things. But no, they do. On a daily basis, all around the world. And Russia is sadly no exception. As all of you probably know by now, my husband, Vladimir Kara Murza, has recently joined the ever-growing list of prisoners of conscience in the Russian Federation. According to Russia's Memorial Human Rights Center, that was shut down on the government's orders in late December of last year, over 400 people had been serving unlawful prison sentences for their political views or religious beliefs before the war broke out. And that number was growing consistently. Since the beginning of the war, over 15,000 people have been arrested across Russia for saying no, for protesting against this unjust and bloody and unprovoked war by the Putin regime with our closest neighbors, against our closest neighbors. Some may say that, what is 15,000 people in a country with a population of 144 million? But let's not forget that every one of them went out in the streets to protest, knowing quite well that they would be detained, that they would be probably beaten up, tortured, humiliated. They knew that they could be prosecuted under this new law that can send you to prison for up to 15 years for calling this war a war, or for standing up to the Putin regime by saying no to it. Their only weapons were truth and human dignity. In 1968, 7 people got arrested for going out into the Red Square to protest against the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia. Prague newspapers later wrote that there are at least 7 reasons why we will never be able to hate Russians. Well, today we can show you over 15,000 reasons not to hate Russians and not to believe that the Russian people supports this unjust, this bloody, this unprovoked war by the Putin regime in Ukraine. And I want to finish, I'm not the speaker in our family. Vladimir does that stuff and he's quite amazing. I'm intimidated by big audiences. For him, the bigger the audience, the better. He's so enthusiastic. He has so much optimism. You listen to him and you cannot not believe what he says. You cannot not believe that everything will be fine. Because here he is, standing, talking to you, and he's amazing in his commitment, in his honesty, in his beliefs that we deserve a better future for our country. Our country deserves a better future. Our children deserve a better future. And he's fighting for that despite everything. So I have a small note from him that I want to read to you. Dear friends, I was hoping to be with you in person, but the 2nd Moscow Special Police Regiment had other plans. I'm writing this note from the Horoshovo-Mnyavniki Detention Center and passing it through my lawyer and my friend, Vladimir, and asking my lifelong partner and soulmate, Evgenia Kara Murza, to read it to you. Both of them feature in Bill's book, and I don't have enough words to express my gratitude for everything they have done and continue to do. I want to thank Bill for this book. It is a profoundly important story, a story of the Magnitsky Act, in which I am proud to have played a small part. It is a story of good and evil. In it, you will read about those Western enablers of Putin's regime, about whom Soviet dissident Vladimir wrote many years ago, that they care more about frying their morning bacon on Soviet gas than they do about any human rights. But you will also find the stories of leaders who are not willing to sell out their principles. Many of them are in this room tonight, and to them I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. When Boris Nemtsov and I sat in the US House Gallery watching them pass the Magnitsky Act in November 2012, he turned to me and said that when Russia becomes a democratic country with the rule of law and respect for human rights, he will go back to Washington and ask Congress to repeal this law, because we will have our own justice system to deal with our own scoundrels. I hope to live to see the day when Russia becomes a democracy, and when it does, I will go back to Congress and ask them to repeal it. I'm speaking, of course, about the Russia-specific Magnitsky Act, because the global Magnitsky Act is here to stay as a universal mechanism to bring accountability to human rights abusers everywhere. Thank you to Bill and to everyone in this room and beyond for making this a reality. Vladimir Kara Murza, Horoshovo-Mnyavniki Detention Center, Moscow, April the 14th, 2022.